It's 11 trivia questions on The Mandalorian from Disney+. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be, and welcome to another episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds. Thank you so much for checking out my show on YouTube. Thanks for listening to it on all your different podcast apps. And thank you so much for telling a friend who likes pop culture and trivia about what I do every single day for about 800 days now. If you can believe it, there's 800 episodes now to listen to of this show. And it's great for binging, great for workouts, great for long car rides, airplane rides, whatever you got going on. If you're traveling, check out some trivia and tell somebody about it. Today's episode is all about The Mandalorian, which is a great 8-episode series on Disney+. If you have Verizon, Disney Plus is free for a year. A lot of people don't know that, so I always mention it on the show. I am recording right here at Sunset in Redlands, California at Hangar 24, one of the breweries where I host bingo every Monday from 7 to 9. We got a really cool kind of like natural filter on me, except for when people walk in front of the sun, if you're watching on YouTube. But they have a lot of great beers here. One of them is called the Betty IPA, the Indian Pale Ale. It's called the Betty, so check that out. There's a very cool glass if you like collecting glassware. They got a nice girl there. I bet her name is Betty. And you can get these glasses and all kinds of great beers and beer swag out here in Redlands, California, or by going to hangar24.com. I have been reading a ton of books, everybody. I am on a huge reading kick, and I feel like it's one of those things, it's kind of like exercising or working out. Once you kind of read a book and you kind of get your speed down, you can kind of just start cruising through books. And I have not done this since my mid to early 20s. So I was an English major in college. If you don't teach English, you pretty much just end up hosting a podcast for a living at some point, I feel like, or hosting trivia and bingo. But I was a big reader, big writer back then, and I'm getting back into it. And I've been mentioning it on the podcast quite a bit lately. But I just finished a really good book that I want to recommend by an author named Sarah Painter, who I think is Scottish. And the book is called The Night Raven. It is the first in a trilogy by Sarah Painter, and it's about a female private investigator who has to go back to London after being in Scotland for a while to try and not join her family business. But there's a lot of cool stuff in this book. There's a little bit of supernatural stuff. She talks to a ghost here and there, that she's the only person who can see it. And there's these different families. So she's from the Crow family, and the Crow family is like kind of like an organized crime family, but not super crazy. And they have the ability to kind of like read people and sense things more than your normal folks. Then they have the Fox family, and they're like kind of tricky and clever and up to no good. And then there's like I think it's the Silver family, and they can sell you anything, like make you think you need certain things. So it's a very interesting set of characters, and I really like the world building, and I can't wait to read the next 2 books. So check that out. It's called The Night Raven by Sarah Painter, and I heard her on the Self-Publishing Show a few episodes back, and I was like, man, I got to check that out. So go check that out. I'm now reading a book called The Scribbly Man by sci-fi author Terry Goodkind, and it's a short novella. There's 6 novellas in this thing. They're only like 150 pages each, which is great. I've learned that if I know I can finish the book in about a week, I'm way more likely to actually start it. So if it's really long, like a book like It by Stephen King, I don't think I would ever read it unless I was really, really compelled, because it's just so big, and I feel like I would never get it done. It's just weird. It's the size of the book. But if I know it's like under 300 pages, under 400 pages, I could cruise through it on an iPad or something. I am ready to go. So I'm reading this Scribbly Man by Terry Goodkind. I don't read a lot of sci-fi, but I am into this one so far. It's got a little bit of Game of Thrones to it with some more magic and things. But I'm very interested to definitely read the next books after that. I'm almost done, about halfway through this one. And all this talk of reading and writing makes me want to kind of bring the book club back. We never really kicked it off strong on the podcast. It was a Patreon level over on patreon.com/trivia with buds. So if you're into books and you want me to bring the book club back, let me know. It was one of the only books I read last year, was the first book in the book club. It was called The Dry by Jane Harper, Australian author. Really good book. Highly recommend that if you like crime and trying to figure out mysteries and stuff. But if you are a fan of books and reading and you want to be part of a pop culture trivia podcast book club, let me know, drop me a line, or join the Patreon page and drop me a line there. Again, if you want to support the show, easiest way to do it is patreon.com/trivia with buds. All right, we're going to jump into 11 questions on The Mandalorian, one of my favorite series and Star Wars-related things of recent years. I did this at my live trivia nights last week, so let's see if you can get all 11 questions right. Here we go. All right, here we go with some Mandalorian trivia. If you haven't seen the show, this is kind of a spoiler alert. There's not a ton of spoilers in here, but there is one question about a character's death. So if you haven't seen it, I would say don't listen to question number 6. So you can listen to the first 5 with no big spoilers. But here we go. Question number 1. On episode 2 of the first season of The Mandalorian, what do the Jawas want in exchange for ship parts? Question number 1. On episode 2 of the first season, what do the Jawas want in exchange for ship parts? Question number 2. An ex-Imperial sharpshooter named Mayfield is played by what comedian on episode 6? Number 2, an ex-Imperial sharpshooter named Mayfield is played by what comedian on episode 6? Question number 3, what 4 words make up the moral code of the Mandalorians? Question number 3, what 4 words make up the moral code of the Mandalorians? Question number 4, coming at you. How old is the child supposed to be? Question number 4, how old is the child supposed to be? Is it 1, 25, 50, or 100 years old? How old is the child supposed to be? 1, 25, 50, or 100? Question number 5, episode 5 shares its name with what Stephen King book character? Number 5, episode 5 shares its name with what Stephen King book character? And number 6, what is the name of the droid who self-destructs to save the crew on episode 8? Number 6, what is the name of the droid who self-destructs to save the crew on episode 8? Question number 7, a female character named Cara Dune is played by an actress who has a background in what sport? Is that NASCAR, WNBA, gymnastics, or MMA? Number 7, a female character named Cara Dune is played by an actress who has a background in what sport? Is it NASCAR, WNBA, gymnastics, or MMA? 4 questions left to go. Here's number 8. The name of the ship the Mandalorian pilots is called the Razor's what? The Razor's what? Number 8, the name of the ship the Mandalorian pilots is called the Razor's what? Question number 9. What is the name of the precious material used to forge Mandalorian armor? Number 9. What is the name of the precious material used to forge Mandalorian armor? Question number 10. The actor who portrays the Mandalorian also starred on what Netflix series for 3 seasons? The actor who portrays the Mandalorian also starred on what Netflix series for 3 seasons? And your final question of today's quiz for 2 points, what species was Queal, played by actor Nick Nolte on the show? Number 11 for 2 points, what species was Queal, played by Nick Nolte on the show? Those are all your questions for today's quiz. We'll be right back in just a second with the Mandalorian answers. We are back with the answers to Mandalorian trivia. If you have not seen The Mandalorian, man, you should go watch it right away on Disney+. They just announced that Season 2 will be coming out in October of 2020. So I think they might have just started wrapping up the filming of Season 2. Very excited for that. Jon Favreau and company still on board. Should be awesome. Here are the answers. Question number 1 on Season 2 of the first... On Season 1, Episode 2, what do the Jawas want in exchange for ship parts? The answer to that question was an egg. They want a Mudhorn's egg. Number 1. Question number 2. An ex-Imperial sharpshooter named Mayfield is played by what comedian on Episode 6? That would be one of my favorites of all time, Bill Burr. Number 2, Bill Burr. One time I was doing a show, an open mic at the Comedy Store in LA, probably 4 years ago. And he came in the club after I got on off the stage, and I had a pretty good set. And he's like, "Hey, pretty good set. can I get some time? And I wasn't running the open mic, but I was like, yeah, you could have all the time in the world. So he shook my hand and hopped on stage, and nobody said anything. So it was funny that he asked me because I was just the comedian before him, but that worked out good. Number 3, what 4 words make up the moral code of the Mandalorians? This is the way. Number 3, what 4 words make up the moral code? This is the way that does not cut it when you're arguing with your wife. I found out in my home. Number 4, how old is the child supposed to be? 50 years old. Baby Yoda is 50 years old. I think adult Yoda is like 500, 600, 1,000 years old, something like that. So that makes sense that baby's already 50. Number 5, episode 5 shares its name with what Stephen King book character? That would be the Gunslinger, part of the Dark Tower series, the Gunslinger. I have not read those, but hey, I'm on that reading kick we talked about. Maybe I'll jump into the Gunslinger novels. Number 6, what is the name of the droid who self-destructs to save the crew on episode 8? IG-11. Not to be confused with IG-88 in the other Star Wars series. IG-11, pretty cool ending for that character. Number 7, a female character named Cara Dune is played by an actress who has a background in what sport? That is Gina Carano, I think her name is, and her background is MMA, mixed martial arts. She can whoop some butt, and if you want to see her in another movie starring, it's called Haywire by, I think, Soderbergh, Steven Soderbergh. Pretty interesting movie. Go check that out, Haywire, from about 10 years ago. Number 8, the name of the ship the Mandalorian pilots is called the Razor's Crest. So it was not the Razor's Edge, not to be confused with Razor Ramon's finishing maneuver, Scott Hall in WWE and WCW, but it was the Razor's Crest. Number 9, what is the name of the precious material used to forge Mandalorian armor? That is Beskar, B-E-S-K-A-R, Beskar. And number 10, the actor who portrays the Mandalorian also starred on what Netflix series for 3 seasons? That was Narcos. Narcos. I thought that was still on the air, but it was just a 3-season show. Ended a couple years ago. And number 11, for 2 points, what species was Queal? Played by Nick Nolte. He is an Ugnaught. U-G-N-A-U-G-H-T. Ugnaught. And that is today's quiz on The Mandalorian. Thank you guys so much for playing on a Monday and telling a friend about the show. Great topics coming up this week, including 0 or more, which is a fun one where I give you a question. You have to tell me if the answer is 0 or more. We have a round on pink things for Valentine's Day. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a whole episode about Valentine's Day from listener Mike Maximchuk, a Comedy Bang Bang podcast quiz, if you like Comedy Bang Bang, for Luke McKay, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So make sure you check out the feed and hit subscribe on YouTube if you're watching, or hit it on your podcast app if you're listening to never miss one of the future episodes. Thank you so much for listening to the show, everybody. We have one more question for you from Funky Monkey, our sponsor here in San Dimas, California. Check them out for all your designing needs at fmdesignsinc.com. Funky Monkey says, what video games characters include a desert cardinal named Red and a wild canary named Chuck? If you know that answer, tweet me at RyanBuds or email ryanbuds@gmail.com to be eligible for a prize. Yesterday's question of the day answer was Bubbles, for the name of Michael Jackson's pet monkey. And your trivia team name of today is Sour Cabbage Patch Kids. So Sour Patch Kids and Cabbage Patch Kids form Sour Cabbage Patch Kids. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And one more quick plug here. Check out this service called Pump Hero. It is a great service put together by a friend of mine from the Midwest. And if you are a mom that is looking for places to safely pump, if you are pregnant or expecting, or you just had a kid and you need to pump milk, check out Pump Hero. It is an app that lets you know the closest places to do that safely. And I think it's a really cool app with a really cool cause and a cool message. So check that out wherever you find apps, Pump Hero, and spread the word to all your mom friends. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show. Thanks for telling a friend, and we'll see you tomorrow for more trivia with me. Cheers.